Okay, it's 6:30, so we'll. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, any changes or additions to the agenda?
Okay, the girls won their fast pitch game, so that was round 1 of district, so round 2 will be at Quilcene on Thursday. And they won handily tonight, so that's all the information I have. Another game on Thursday, so good job with that.
Okay, item 4, consent agenda.
Move the board approve consent agenda as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, personnel. Acknowledge the resignation of Robin Andrea, head girls basketball coach.
I move the board acknowledge the resignation of Robert Andrea, girls basketball coach.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to acknowledge the resignation of Robin Andrea, head girls basketball coach. Is there any discussion?
Got a question?
Yes.
You talked about maybe having a name so that it could be in place for somebody.
We're hoping to, means it'll basically be determined before board approval, though, because we don't meet again until third week in June. Position closes, the advertisement closes Friday, this coming Friday.
I think we did something like that.
Want somebody to start?
Usually around the 1st of June.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6.
All right.
This is item 5B. Acknowledge retirement, Norman Packard, Secretary of Naselle Youth Camp School, September 30th, 2015.
I move the board acknowledge the retirement of Norman Packard, September 30, 2015. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to acknowledge the retirement of Norman Packard, Secretary of Naselle Youth Camp School, as of September 30th, 2015. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to thank her for all of her time. Rarely do we see her in our environment, but she's dedicated herself to that camp, and from everything I've heard, she's done an outstanding job. So
I concur.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5C, superintendent evaluation. That will be deferred to the executive session after board reports. Item 6, public comment. Somebody signed up for public comment here, but I don't know who it was.
That was me.
Oh, okay.
Did I write my name? I did. I forgot the important. Well, so it's me.
Does not really count then.
So it's actually less a comment, more question. It's actually one question and one two-part question. So first, I've been following the budget situation somewhat closely, and I was curious. One, the question is, so what is the budget projected for 2015-16 for this school? What are you using as a planning number at this point?
I assume that it's,
Or whoever knows.
well, we don't know yet exactly. Today was the first day our business managers came, so we have a new business manager. His name is Kent Simpson. He's from ESD 112. The enrollment projections will probably look pretty similar. We've sent out a thing to the staff and parents parents, or just parents through this, kids take home their folder, you've probably seen one, asking, what kids plan to return or not return. So we're in the process of gathering that information. Of course, we have kindergarten roundup tomorrow, so that'll, drive some funding decisions, or I should say number of decisions. I wouldn't expect a big change in projected enrollment numbers as far as budgeting goes.
So similar numbers this year, or?
Possibly.
So what is that? That's all I'm just
Well,
trying to get a
we
handle on.
built the public school budget on 260, the virtual school on 35. Now these are FTE.
Right,
And the camp was built on 76.
okay. So what does that equal in dollars? I'm just, is it $1 million, is it $10 million? But, and I'm not saying, I know it's a projection, I'm just saying, what are you planning based on?
We don't know that yet because the legislators haven't finished. They could change the rate for alternative kids, they could change the rate for the basic ed
Okay.
kids.
So we,
All day kindergarten?
It could be all the kindergarten, it could be starting classes at 17 to 1.
I didn't realize I was asking a difficult question. So we don't know what the budget is for 2016.
It's going to be less on paper, I can guarantee it, because we're not going to build in $1.5 million capacity like we have in the past.
Okay, well, what was the budget this year?
6.6 million.
6.6 million, so it's reasonable to assume it's going to be 1.5 million less than that, so about 5 million. For discussion purposes,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
so the follow-up, so the two-part question is then thinking about what the state is currently proposing in its budget. The Senate and the House budgets have been out for a while. What's your take on what the school's going to see in the way of allocations from the state this year in 15-16?
I don't have much of a take at this point because they just announced on the news that they're probably going to have another special session. I think it was yesterday I heard that. We would expect more funding next year than this year because with all the pressure with Larry and House Bill, what I forgot the number, I don't expect to see less funding per pupil. Haven't heard a lot of talk about virtuals.
Do we have a legislative rep?
Yep, very good.
So what's your take on what you're hearing?
Well, if you follow it, it's like what week you follow it,
Right.
what's in the hopper, and then the next week it changes. And so my take on it is I'm going to wait till the session's over, and then I'll know. But they found some new money here just recently they were talking about, and so that could have an impact on anything they're doing with education. There really hasn't been a lot of talk about specifically what they're going to fund and what they're not going to fund that I've seen. And, I think that's still very much up in the air.
Well, I've heard some of the same things you've heard. So I've got the pivot table that they're using right now in the legislature. And you've got a state, you've got a House and Senate budget. And so you get a ballpark based on that. It's probably not going to be less than one of those by the way things look. And then I did hear the same thing, that they did find more money. It's apparently the pot farmers in Raymond are saving us. They're making a lot more money because of that. And then, yeah, that's what they said, actually. And then in addition, the economy has turned around. So they're forecasting more revenue this year, but then quite a bit more the next year. And so, what we're seeing is for full-day kindergarten, a range between $67 million increase to a $73 million increase for full-day kindergarten. For K through 3 class size reductions, finally, dealing with the fact that we've been held in contempt and we need to make some progress. They're looking at between 90 million and 42 million. And so nobody knows how these budgets are going to be justified in the end, but there's going to be an increase. And I even heard the House or Senate leader there was named Schosler or something like that. He even said, hey, I think we can get to an answer here pretty quick because we found more money. That's what he said. So something's going to happen. And so the point there is, it looks like we're going to get quite a bit more money. There's $9 million for vocational ed, $12 million for alternative learning. And then highly capable, $8 million potentially for the highly capable program. Now that gets spread out across a bunch of schools, of course, but so they did a by county breakdown. Right now, they're forecasting anywhere between 2.6 and 1.9 million for Pacific County as an increase. And that's a pretty sizable increase. And it's gonna be somewhere in that ballpark, it looks like. And so I heard one estimate that Naselle stands to probably net somewhere around $325,000, $330,000 more for their budget next year.
So
So,
highly capable?
no,
I was
total.
gonna say, that's wrong.
Yeah, I wish. But, so, I mean, if you look at $2 million being distributed across Pacific County, how does it shake out per district? And so they're saying, at least one estimate, and this is all it is, was, over 300,000. So that's a pretty sizable increase for our $5 million budget. And so the question would be to you then, if we do see those kinds of budget increases, what are you gonna spend it on? How would you put that to work for our students?
I'd like to see the money first myself, because a lot of that's gonna come with strings, just like the class sizes.
Yep.
If you can't accommodate it, I'm sure you're not gonna get the money.
We did talk about that today, and that is correct. And that kind of drove a conversation around the tipping point of how many more kids do you take in a class over cap and then hire that second teacher? Because it's not always beneficial if the state is at a ratio of 17-to-1 and you have 32 kids that you may not, want to bring in 32, and you may want to keep it at that smaller number. There's tipping points there where it's counterproductive, basically.
So I guess just the last thing I'd say is that as a parent, I would ask, this is a comment, that the board start considering, how it's going to use that additional funding to be prepared. It may not happen. Maybe we'll get less, but it seems pretty likely. And so, the more time that you have to give that consideration, the better. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, unfinished business. 7A is acknowledged funding letters from, well, help me out with pronunciation here, Mandarin,
Eugene.
and South Pacific County Community Foundation.
I move the board acknowledge the funding letters from the Mandarin, Luging, and South Pacific County Community Foundation.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to acknowledge funding letters from Mandarin, Luging, and South Pacific County Community Foundation. Now, before we go to comments, I'd like to remind the audience that this is the board's comment period, okay? So we'd like to get through that without any interruption, and then you'll be given a chance to make whatever comments you wish to make after we're done, okay? Is there any discussion? Steve?
Could we get some clarification or a board viewpoint on how the funding is actually going to be dispersed? I raised that question when I read the letter last month, and their letter was rewritten, but it really doesn't resolve in my mind how that's going to work. And I'd just like to make a couple points about that. The school district is providing, I think the number is 32,800 in offsets.
Well,
And that's variable. That could go up or down, okay? But that's up front. That's right off the top. Those funds will come out of the budget to fund the Mandarin program. But in my view, they're taking away funds from 2/3 of the rest of the student loan. So I think a reasonable way to approach this, not a fair way, because I don't want to go down that road. I think a reasonable way to approach this is that if we're going to be putting up $33,000, the proper thing to do would be to then utilize whatever funds the Mandarin group has brought forward, and then the remaining funds be from the 25,000 cap that the board has approved. And if we exceed that, that's a whole nother matter. And we may. It may all be exhausted at the end of it. But to me, that's the way it should go. And it's a reasonable way to do it. It makes sense. It makes sense to the rest of the kids, the voters of this school district, that way. And I'd like the board to consider that. Or actually, Lisa, this is probably your thing more than the board's. You know, I guess I need to hear from you what exactly, how you intend to lay this thing out. Because I was flabbergasted when I heard the last meeting that, you know, basically, we were going to pay for everything, and then their money would be the remainder. When we heard, all five of us heard it at that March meeting last year, that they would raise all the money. We all heard it. You know, now, there's a difference of opinion on who supports that, but I didn't hear anybody at that March meeting last year say, no, we're not going to raise all the money. No one said that, but we all heard they would raise it. So, to me, a reasonable way to approach this is to utilize the offsets, whatever they are, then utilize the donated funds, and then apply the cap as needed. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, yeah, the letter doesn't specify.
Well, I want you to specify. I don't want to be telling you how to run the school, but obviously I've got a little bit of passion about what we've been dealing with here, and I believe that what I'm laying out is a reasonable way of dealing with this.
If I could say something. The letter that we saw last month had a stipulation in it that the district's money would be spent first, and then the grant money would be spent after that. The letter that we have before us tonight does not have that restriction. So,
That doesn't mean anything.
well, it means that we can spend it how we see fit.
Yes,
In whatever
we
order.
could.
In whatever order. we
What I'd like to know is, what are we gonna do? That's all I'd like to know. And if Lisa tells me we're gonna spend our money first, that's what I need to know.
That's not really how the money rolls in. I mean, it comes in every month through apportionment. Now, it's not their funding commitment, but the 32,008 in offsets, I mean, it could be 40,000, it could be 27,000. So, and it changes from month to month. So it's kind of hard to say, well, we're going to spend that total amount up front, because that isn't how it comes. If it came in one big lump sum and was there in September, that's pretty easy to quantify. But it comes in monthly through apportionment, it changes every month after January based on our apportionment, because we're going to get paid September, October, November, December based on what amount we budgeted. But in January, it's trued up, and then we get money each month according to our FTE.
So why can't you just do a balance sheet? And if it's 40,000, well, to me, it's irrelevant what the number, if it's 40,000 or 28,000.
So I mean, I could say, yeah, we're going to spend one amount first, but in reality, it probably wouldn't play out that way because of the way the money flows in. So, you know, I wouldn't want to say we're going to do this, and then really on paper, we're not. A little more difficult to do it that way. I mean, I don't have a problem with that theory, but I don't believe the parent group wrote the letter in their heads thinking that way. So I'm guessing it's going to generate another letter, you know.
Well, here's my whole point in saying what I said. If it were to come to a point where we had all the costs expended and there were still funds, my view is those funds need to stay in the district hands. Reduce the cap. The cap's 25.
Sure, I understand.
Okay, that's my point.
Right.
So, and so if there's, you know, if there's some budgeting things that have to take place, but in the final analysis,
Right.
you know, I think it's reasonable that we at the end of the day, have some reduction in the total cost. Because right now, we're looking at $58,000 of expenditure with the cap and the offset number that's flexible.
That would be my understanding also.
So let's just talk about the numbers then, because I'm hearing different numbers than what I saw when I went back and put together the pieces. We're talking about halftime TCLP teacher at 32,000, correct? And the college board teacher, we're talking about 45,000?
Well, now, when you say 32 and it's 25 is the actual salary. There are other costs.
Right, total program cost.
Yeah, total program
Not
costs.
salary.
Yeah, you're kind of talking apples and oranges there.
Okay, so that isn't the teacher's cost, the 32,000? That's what I had seen in one of the,
The TCLP, the 20-hour teacher, yes.
Yes.
It's 31,996.
And that's teacher salary.
That's the cost for that teacher, yes,
Okay.
salary.
And that includes some things that are not included in the 25,000 that we pay in salary to the college board teacher, right?
well, college board, we're just talking TCLP right now. That's different than the college board, right?
Yes.
So the TCLP, if we're just talking about that, we're talking about $32,000. That's the number I saw. Is that a correct number?
Yes.
Okay. And then if we're talking about a college board teacher, we're talking about a full-time college board teacher, and we're talking about $45,000 there. That's the number I've seen.
Right, and that number included, professional development for the program, some travel costs, we pick them up at the airport, we bring them back, we have mentor teacher time involved, there's training. That was like all-inclusive cost.
Right, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
if you just add those two numbers together, that's our
Right.
cost, right? And then, so that total estimated cost, we're talking about $77,000 if we add those two together. And then we're going to, the Naselle General Fund was going to contribute $25,000. And then based on the projected enrollments from out of state and out of district was going to generate another 38,100 was the numbers I saw. Now, I thought I heard a different number here a little while.
Well, we don't know what that number's going to be.
Right. But I mean, based on the projection, when we had our board meeting here last month or whenever it was, when those numbers were,
Right, I thought it was 32,800.
oh, maybe I put it down incorrectly then. So you're thinking that was 32,000, not 38,000.
Well, like I said,
I mean, just based on the projections that we had at the previous meeting. Okay.
that's what I recall. I can pull it back up here.
So if it was 38, then the total general fund contribution would have been 63,000. And then the amount, the way I understood it then, that would be returned to the immersion group would be $19,000 because we wanted to expend it to a total of 33,000. But you're telling me that letter has changed now, so.
I sent it last week.
Yeah, that letter normally has a requirement that we spend district money first.
Okay. So is it the feeling that we are going to return funds, or how is that viewed today?
I mean, it's possible.
I mean, in the scenario that we don't ever run into utilizing those funds.
Right, if we did not spend them all, their letter requests that it's either rolled over to the next year as
Right.
seed money or whatever it will, stays in the coffer for that program, or it's returned.
And that's the plan today, that we're going to return. I mean, that's,
Well, we haven't adopted the letter yet, but that's what, the letter comes with, I guess, those strings, for lack of a better
But
explanation at this point.
But I would say that the offsets, those are going to be fixed, whatever they are, actual numbers. And then beyond that, my belief is that we will use the $33,000 grant to pay for the rest of the expenses And anything not covered by that would be covered by the up to $25,000 that we've already authorized. Now, if we get to the point where we don't even need that $33,000 grant, we can get by without even all of that, that means the district spends zero out of that 25,000, and whatever is left either gets rolled over to the next year or gets returned to the foundation.
Okay, so that's even a different scenario than what I was thinking. So you're saying that the $25,000, the grant would be the last part of the money used.
Yes.
Is that what everybody else has understood, or Lisa, is that the way you're thinking, or is that different again?
I don't even know anymore. I mean, whatever we say, we'll do.
Right.
So if it's approved under those conditions, but then I could, we have to also, is that how, what they intended by writing it? Because we have to be on the same page. I mean, if they're giving it under one condition and we're then
Right.
operating it out, extending it back out on another condition, that's not.
Well, if they don't agree with what we do,
That's not.
my
what it
view
says.
is we can just give them the money back. That's my view.
But we just said what we would, well, I said what I thought, you said what you thought, and none of that is in conflict with the letter.
Yeah, I just want to understand what we're approving or not approving. And I don't think it's really,
No, somebody make a motion.
Well, I've got one
We
more.
have a motion on the floor.
I've got one more issue, question about cost, because Lisa, I believe you said last month that administrative cost would be associated with the cost of the program. You were going to track your cost.
We haven't counted Karen in my time. We counted Krista's
I'm not talking about this year.
for next year.
I'm talking next year.
I don't believe we said we were counting our time.
I don't recall that either.
and I didn't find anything in the information that I was looking for that we were accounting for next year. So, I don't think there's been anything in the paperwork that says we were going to.
I thought that was discussed last month.
I remember saying, and that's not even counting our time. If we were to count our time, the cost would be a lot bigger. But it didn't, I didn't have any.
So just want to understand what the costs are going to be, because that's a big cost. So what you're saying, we're going to eat, the district's going to eat the administrative cost of the program.
I didn't say not exactly.
Well-
Maybe Karen in my time.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's the administrative,
Well, I guess if you put it that way, yes.
okay, that's all I need to know. Because I wasn't clear on that at all.
So the administrative costs are probably going to be 15%
50%
the total.
of total expenditure.
Well, I mean, in the real world, in the business world, you better figure some administrative costs and some incidental costs
I would say at this
into
point it's,
that.
well, an hour a day of me, probably
So you're pretty close.
hour a
So,
day of
I
Karen.
mean, typically, in my world, if I don't figure in 10-15%, I'm only hurting myself. So, I mean, in this, reality is reality. I mean, you can't expect something for nothing. You just can't. I mean, it's common sense. It's got to be paid somehow. So, as this moves forward, you can't expect the district to just keep eating the cost of the administrative cost. It's not going to pencil out. You can do it for a year or two or three, and you're going to be fine. But at some point, either the people are going to be overtaxed, and I'm talking about Karen, Lisa, anybody else involved, there's going to be so much to take care of that somewhere along the line you have to have another person. And at that point, then, the costs are obvious, correct? I mean, it just stands to reason.
And
So just shrugging our shoulders on the administrative costs, I think, is being kind of naive, I think. in reality. I don't know, it's just, I'm just speaking from the business world aspect that, you know, if you don't look at it, you better start looking at some point. I mean, all the different numbers, you can work these numbers around in different ways. You know, Buddy sees it one way, I think Steve might see it a little bit different way. Chuck, I've talked to Chuck. You know, then there's this school, and to me, we approved 25 grand or less. And that was what we approved. I believe that's what it was. So, in my opinion, if you're asking for one, if we can keep it within the 25,000, I'm still okay with it. If it's going to exceed that, then I don't think I'm okay with it.
Well, it's definitely not, if you factor in our time, there's no way 25,000 fits.
So who takes the hit on that then?
I guess honestly though, we don't factor in our time for voc ed or
Well,
STEM or, you know, but it is part of the picture and there is quite a bit of time consumption, I guess, if you want to, you know, I don't know how you want to quantify it. And that's why I said, what percent of what? A percent of the offsets, a percent of our total day, a percent, you know, when we said how much time are you allocating? I said in regards to, you know, percentage of total cost, hours of the day, you know, there's lots of ways to look at that.
Well, as long as we have kind of a revolving door for teachers every year in the Mandarin program, I can't see that the cost really going down. I could see it going down if you're hiring them teachers.
And just, I guess for a little tidbit of information, when we posted our third grade position, we put on a Washington Teacher Association page, and we put elementary teacher, Mandarin speaking teacher preferred but not required. And we ran that for probably 7 days. We had over 100, we call them hits. People look at it, nobody applied. We changed the wording to say elementary teacher, Mandarin preferred but not required, so please apply. We had another 150 hits. Then we said, okay, forget that, that wasn't working. Third grade teacher, and we had another 100 and some hits. And out of all of that, the whole time, we had one applicant, and happened to be a person who already subs here. So, you know, we did run some posting just to get some data, and, you know, I don't think it's going to be that easy to hire our own person. Now, maybe it is, maybe that was a bad website, but pretty much any teacher in the teachers union, which is about all of them, you know, get those announcements and go to those pages. That is something we've talked about, hiring our own person. There's some, you know, challenges with that too. You know, you're correct, and each year as we rely on grants, they have timelines, and the TCLP teacher, for example, can't stay. College board teachers can stay up to 3 years.
Are they under a contract that they can't, I mean, if you made an offer, they would have to refuse it?
It's kind of mutual decision.
But they say they're no longer going to work for the college board, that they're going to.
Well, if they went off of the college board, they would be out of it.
Right.
Oh, you mean, could we just hire them
Yeah.
outright?
Right.
Well, there's a timeline where they have to return to China. They can't just stay here. They might be able to, I don't know if there's a certain window, once you go back into the country, there's, you know, different rules.
Are all college board teachers then from China? There are no Mandarin teachers that are U.S. based?
Do not know that. Karen, do you know?
No, they're all from China. And they can't stay because of their J-1 visa. So with the TCLP teacher, no matter what, they're hired by the State Department, and it's mandatory that they return to China for 2 years. They can't even enter the United States for 2 years after being here for the 1 year. That's a State Department policy.
Alan, did you have an answer to that?
Sure, I was going to share a little more information about hiring Chinese teachers, if you can entertain that.
Yeah, let us finish.
Sure.
Is there more discussion? I'm happy to continue. If you want to continue.
Well, I just want to understand where we're going on this, and, I don't support it just because of the funding model, which I've made clear from the start, but I still want to, as we go along, I guess, understand what we are doing. So I think it's clear that we don't have a motion at this point as to how it's going to be handled.
And that might just be an administrative detail that we handle amongst the six of us. The letter has pretty minimal restrictions. We just have to spend the money on the Mandarin program. And if we don't spend it all, then we either have to roll it or give it out. And that's pretty much it.
I'd just like to make one last comment. Lisa, I don't want you to think that I or any of us here are trying to tell you how to run this. If you believe in your heart that this is your job to decide, then that's your job, and we need to allow you to do that. So,
We track every expense.
yeah,
We have a pretty good deal, what it's gonna cost, we know who's coming, we interview them all, are you coming for the program? And definitely will say the funding model is not perfect, and, there could be a lot of other ways to come up with something, but the important thing for all of us in our work to know is are we having it or not, and so we can, get on with the work. If we're not, then let's just end it tonight and be done with it, because we have a lot of other things we have to do. If we are, then let's have it, and then let us, administer it so that we can get it done. Because, I think we all feel like we're kind of stuck in this quagmire of something, so.
Well, my problem is, I know it's a good program, but my problem is that everything that happens in this school, whether it's math, science, I don't care what it is figured out, and it's going to cost a certain amount. And administrative costs are figured into that. So if you walk blindly through this, and we get 5 years into this program, and there's nothing ever done about administrative costs, the local taxpayer is going to pick that up on the local levy. It's the only way it's going to be paid. So I think I have a problem with that we just keep walking sort of blindly through this and not really taking into account. Sure, you throw this number out here of, X amount of dollars, but still we're not looking at the administrative costs, and there's people that just expect the district just to pick that up. I don't get that thinking, because that is not reality in the real world of business. And how you think you can just do that in a district, I guess I have a problem with that. And again, I've been a supporter of the Chinese immersion program. I have been. But still, business sense tells me you just can't keep moving forward and shrugging our shoulders on the administrative cost. Lisa puts in a certain amount of time, Karen does, and I'm sure there's others that do too. And you can't just keep turning your back to that, is my problem with this. And if you don't figure a percentage of administrative costs, sooner or later, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as the program grows. And there's more kids involved, and more teachers, and more everything. That's my problem with it.
Well, maybe this isn't the right time to bring this up, but you were talking about putting this out to a vote. Is that something that can be discussed at this point, or is it further discussion at a later point, or?
Are you referring to the advisory vote?
Yes.
No, I think at this point, we are just dealing with the motion that's on the floor, and that is to accept the budget.
Okay.
And I do have some things later to add, about the advisory vote that I learned from the Suits report.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? Okay, does anybody have a comment or question from the audience? No?
If you want to hear it now or later, I was just going to offer some information about recruiting for a Mandarin teacher. That when I heard about the posting that was put out, I looked at it and it was a sentence. That it's very brief, not much in the way of an advertisement for what a person might, be applying for. And so I kind of looked at that and then looked into what the other options might be. And pretty quickly discovered there's 5, maybe 6 really good posting boards where you could advertise for a Mandarin-speaking qualified teacher, as well as work with Michigan State University to solicit them to provide a teacher. So all I wanted to make the point was that, if we really want to be proactive about finding a Mandarin-speaking teacher, there's some things we can do to recruit a high-quality one. And I'd be willing to point you guys in the right direction if you wanted it.
Okay, anyone else? All right. It's been moved and seconded that the board acknowledge the funding letters from Mandarin News Inc. and South Pacific County Community Foundation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
All right, so as I counted, the vote is for the motion and 1 abstention. Is that correct? Motion passes. New business, item 8. 8A approves certificated teaching contracts for 2015-2016.
I move the board approve certificated teaching contracts for 2015-2016.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve certificated teaching contracts for 2015-16. Is there any discussion?
Since those contracts were negotiated and approved last year, why does it come in front of the board to be approved every year?
It's just something that's done every year.
I mean,
They
what if
know
we said no?
I don't know, we don't have school.
I mean, we can't disapprove them now since we've approved it. Isn't it a 3-year contract that we approved last year?
That was a 2-year contract.
2-year.
That governs all kinds of things like supplementals and extra work days. This is just provides an assurance that they have a position versus if we're doing reductions, RIFs or layoffs. So sometimes the opposite comes to the board where we're eliminating the teacher essentially. Basically it's a formality, but not everyone is entitled to a contract. So there's the individual contract that you're approving, and then there's the collective bargaining agreement that governs these, but that's what was approved last year. But individual teachers do come up every year because not every year does every teacher get issued a contract.
Okay, so these are individual
These
contracts.
are individual
Okay.
contracts that are with that spreadsheet. No, we haven't bargained in the contract.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8B, approve non-represented employee contracts for 2015-16.
I move the board approve non-represented employees contracts for 2015, 2016.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the non-represented employee contracts for 2015-16. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, approve supplemental summer teaching contracts for youth camp summer school.
I move the board approve the supplemental teaching contracts for youth camp summer school 2015-16.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve supplemental summer teaching contracts for youth camp summer school for, I guess that's just 2015.
That's right.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, approve superintendent secretary contract.
I move the board approve the superintendent secretary contract to begin July 1, 2015.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the superintendent secretary contract to begin July 1, 2015. Any discussion?
So, Lisa, that position has been in the non-represented class, but now, as I understand it, she's wearing 2 hats, is that right? And that's why we're acting on this as a separate motion.
Well, this is a new, yes, well, 2 reasons. One, because it's brand new. Contract doesn't exist in that form, so we didn't lump it in, and plus, it's Rhiannon, she's starting new, and she does have yeah, it's multiple hats, so you'll see her name come across later too.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, adopt superintendent job description and evaluation tool.
I move the board approve the superintendent job description and the evaluation tool.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the superintendent job description and evaluation tool. Any discussion?
I was a little surprised to see it come up as an action item, because I kind of thought when we left our workshop that we were kind of just, that was the first go-around of it. And I'm thinking that the board has a self-evaluation coming up, and what else do we have? You know, we're going to set goals, and to me, it all kind of is interrelated, and they should kind of all be approved at once. I don't know if there's a rush that we need to do this. To me, it seemed like I wasn't prepared when we left the workshop to approve it. You know, we sent Lisa back with some changes and bring it back for our review. But
Did I miss something? I didn't see any changes to what
yeah,
They were
they're
there.
in our
we.
packet.
Okay, then I missed something.
I didn't highlight them, I just knew them up.
I went through it. I
Okay.
thought I did. It took, well, at least it was consistent with the notes that I had.
Probably 4, can you do maybe, or 5 that had,
Right, wasn't much. Yeah.
Okay, well, I confess that I missed that.
But I guess my question for the board is, are we in a hurry do we need to have that approved tonight? Is it, when, would it make more sense for the board to do its goals and self-evaluation? Because that could have an impact on something that we want in the job description or the superintendent's evaluation. To me, it seems like it all goes together.
I agree that it was really, I don't know that we're in a hurry. Seemed like we were in a hurry when we had that workshop.
Yeah, I mean, it
Well,
just,
we were hurried to get out of there.
yeah, I mean, if we're going to do something just for the sake of checking off the box and say we got it done, you know, that's one thing, but if we're going to truly say that we want to put some good consideration into the documents, then I'm not there.
well, my logic in this is, well, first of all, I'm in a hurry, because, you know, my new year starts July 1, and we would need another board workshop to talk about it again. And to me, it should be adopted as a tool before the student achievement goals are set, so we know what tool we're operating on. I've started collecting data and information and talking with principals and teachers about student achievement goals as we move forward. So to me, the logical thing is we adopt the tool and the template, then I bring the goals to the board to be adopted, and then those goals then go in.
Okay, that's the part that I was talking about when I said it didn't look like everything had been completed. Those goals were still like.
That's because we haven't established. Yeah.
Right, but those aren't work goals, those are my student
Right.
achievement goals that you guys would evaluate me. So to me, I mean,
All right.
I guess.
I guess with that understanding, I'm good with doing it.
Well, at the end of the day, we can amend if we talked about that.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, approve school calendar for 2015-2016 school year.
I move the board approve the school calendar for 15-16.
I'll second
It's Been moved and seconded to approve the school calendar for 2015-2016 school year. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, approve overnight stays for spring sports.
I move the board approve overnight stays for spring sports.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve overnight stays for spring sports. Is there any discussion? And that would be fast pitch and track. Fast pitch as necessary, and track per se. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, approve use of school transportation for school-sponsored summer programs and activities.
I move the board for the use of school transportation for summer programs and activities.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the use of school transportation for school-sponsored summer programs and activities. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, principals and staff reports.
We don't have much in the way of that. Move on to my stuff. Enrollment snapshot. This is where we are as in the end of May. Interesting, we usually things kind of go downhill this time of year, but they really haven't. November, so enrollment's really held steady all year. We've been fortunate with our budget number predicting that I haven't seen major drops. That, financial. Where we started, let's see, May, started May with 980,000 in the balance. Replaced the end of April, as you can see. Just kind of a reminder, July and August are months based on the average, and we get 10% of our apportionment for the year in the summer months. This makes it difficult, for example, with youth camp, because you're going to get a good chunk of money in the summer, and if that flows in, we haven't spent enough out, you might see some increased spending for camp at the end of the year. It's all based on your average, so they have given us a few more kids the last couple of months. But the downside of it is, because July and August are based on average, if we have 80, 90 kids all of a sudden coming to the camp, then for summer school, we're not going to get funded for it. We're only going to get funded under average. So we like to have a few kids in the summer because we get a bigger average. And we had to staff our summer program lower because, as you know, the camp funding number was 76, but we didn't have that many students. So we spent more than we had these, they said they were going to pay us for. We probably can out in the end, but just something we kind of be aware of. That's just typical how we deal with it, every summer out there. And along the business side, like I said earlier, I did meet with Kent Simpson today, our new business manager. He's used to working in much larger districts, but he was amazed for a school our size, even though the funding pockets, some of them are very small, but we have a lot of funding sources. He's been in much larger districts that have fewer funding sources, or account codes, I guess I should say. Well, we don't get as much money as the bigger districts, but we have a lot more little money coming from various sources. So he was kind of surprised with the number of accounts we actually have for a school our size. Okay, other matters of business. A while back I mentioned this public records request from Smart Clear. You're going to hear that every 6 months. They're going to continue to send us that. We only got to work through that for the first time, so
watchdog group?
I think it is. If you go to their website, they kind of, I think they like to basically get your information and then send it out to other vendors and say, these are the kinds of things these places buy.
Looking for $400 hammers and stuff?
Probably, yeah, I don't know, it's a nuisance, but anyway, it's the law, so. Last month you mentioned about a Mandarin advisory vote. Time would really be of the essence here. If we want to move ahead with that, we need to set up a workshop right away. We would have to have everything completed, the resolutions written and approved by the board, local language, and be turned in and everything to the county by August 4th. They have a different calendar timeline this year, which is surprising because RCW says 46 days before the election, and August 4th is no more than 46 days before the November election. So I did call up there and confirm that, because that was a shock to me. So I would suggest, we get our calendars out and figure out a time for a workshop if we want to do that. I did talk to the prosecuting attorney, I think it was yesterday, and we need to check on he needs to do some research on language around the ballot. Typically, when districts or entities run an advisory vote, it's in regards to a levy. Should the district levy excess, $3.05 per thousand in support of X, whatever your proposition is, yes, no. This could be yes, no. It's not a levy. So, we need to ask ourselves, is this a yes, no, or are we going to have options? So if the voter supports a program, up to 25,000, up to 50,000, not at all, what kind of data are we looking for? So again, to be redundant, we get out our calendars and pick a time. There would be quite a bit of work to do in a pretty short timeline. What do you want to do? Go through the rest of this and then come back, or?
Why don't we go through the rest of your report?
Okay. At the workshop, we'll talk about doing the board self-evaluation before the June meeting. So we want to see if that time works. Is an hour enough, or probably 45 minutes or so, I guess, by the time we transition. So should I set up something put out a special notice for that, 5:30?
I'm good with that.
We've kind of kicked this around a little bit already, but we have reached out to the college board, and they will be able to provide us a 0.5 teacher. It's 20 hours a week, which is actually more than a 0.5 teacher. Teachers by contract are 7 hours a day. Crystal and Karen and I met for probably an hour, and then they met longer, and we talked about it some more. So it is doable, so we've put together a plan that can allow that to happen. I mentioned about the garage doors last time. Carl wasn't able to make it to the facilities committee, and there were more questions than I could answer the specifics on. So our next facilities meeting is, it's the first Monday of June. I don't know if that's the first or the third off the top of my head, but I should have something at the June meeting about the garage doors that we've been talking about for probably a year, it seems. I did attend the fire hall meeting, or meeting at the fire hall. Actually, it was in Rossburg. I went to Great Grove. A while back, we discussed maybe the possibility of having some of our board meetings in Opequon County be more accessible to the east end of the county, and they said that would be no problem at all. We could, check out a key, and it wouldn't conflict with any of their meetings, and they welcome us if we want to do that. They don't charge anything for nonprofits. So if the board has interest in that, I can bring back some more information on it, maybe suggest a few months out of the year where we would meet out there, just looking for a little, yeah, go ahead, continue your work on that, or,
Now, this is something that used to happen when we had a school across the street, isn't it?
Twice a year.
Yeah, she held it in Russell, at the school.
I don't remember what months.
we would need to.
Once in the summer and once in the school year.
With fall and spring.
Fall, spring. We would need a policy revision
Usually around,
and pick some specific months, but if the board wishes, I can do some more work on that and bring something, just maybe under 2 3/4 or something, keep it rolling.
Okay.
Okay. That's all. We'll go back to the other.
Okay, sure. What would you think, and would it work to extend our June 27th workshop to include this?
What time's our workshop take off on the 27th?
I don't know. We haven't confirmed that with her yet, but I imagine 9 or 10, at some point in the morning.
So if we just wanted to go an extra however long it took after that?
And this would be at the fire hall, is what's being suggested.
Nothing.
No, we're talking about the meeting with Patty on the.
Oh, I thought we were talking, I thought there was a suggestion you go in there for I missed something there. Okay, so the location of it has not been determined yet.
Not with Patty.
Okay.
That's a Saturday, right? There's no reason we can't meet here.
We could be here.
I mean, there's no disruptions unless there's something going on, right?
I don't know what it would be.
I mean, this is.
Okay, now that's going to be helping us to do some goal settings.
She's, board workshop for goals.
Okay, and your performance goals could probably be playing into that, is that correct?
No, I wouldn't think so. That's for board goals. I guess they could. I mean, I'm thinking of my performance goals with the teachers and principal bringing it back to student achievement, unless they're two different things. You're talking about on the evaluation tool?
Well, that would end up being that's where your goals would go
Right.
on that tool.
So those are, on that tool, it says student performance goals. So like what goals do I want to see for the students? Board
Okay,
workshop.
so do we not have the opportunity to define some of your performance goals?
Well, I don't think the student achievement part.
I'm not necessarily saying that's what we're talking about.
Okay, so
I'm just
there's
asking a question.
student achievement goals on there. Yes. But are you asking if Patty Wood is going to be involved in helping?
The reason I'm bringing this up is if we're going to in any way discuss your performance goals, that should probably require an executive session. I don't think that's something that you deal with in public session.
You can't do that on the workshop if it's part of the agenda?
Well, I'd have to be on the agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
It would have to be a special meeting, which could be the same day, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be done.
You know, I don't know, I just see we've got a resource coming here. A very experienced resource. And I put a lot of value in that. And I'm just saying, and Lisa, maybe you can just answer this by talking to Patty. And then let us know what she might say about it.
Okay, I think there's three things on the table here. There's a board workshop for the advisory vote. There is Patty, who is coming to talk about board goals. And then there's my goals, my performance goals, which could be part of student achievement goals as listed on the evaluation tool that we just adopted. Right? We're on the same page so far? Because it's getting confusing. There's like a Venn diagram here. I think it's too much in one day to try to have Patty do board goals, advisory vote, and Lisa performance goals. I guess I've kind of lost what we're talking about.
Well, was Patty gonna be, was the question to involve Patty in the advisory vote?
No, my
We
suggestion
just
was,
have a segment, a segregated, be a different meeting, or a different agenda item.
right,
Yeah, which should be after. the
either
goal.
before or after Patty.
Right, right.
I would say after, unless if she wants to come early and get done and let it go on.
Exactly, yeah.
Or if she wants to come at a certain time, we want to come a little earlier, we gotta get it out of the way, so that we don't hold her up.
We have a board meeting between now and then, if Lisa could explore with Patty what time she'd like to do it, then we might have to have an idea what we want to do.
Do we have an agenda of what we're going to discuss with Patty, or is it just going to be a kind of a free-for-all, or how is that?
Oh, remember what we did last year? I mean, we did the very same thing.
She will probably have some specifics. She said that she would probably be calling individuals.
It'd be kind of nice to be able to prepare for a little bit, for sure, you know.
Well, the purpose, as far as my understanding, was to set the board goals. And then, you know, based on that, I would want to set, you know, my goals, because if they don't align, then that's not a good thing. So if the board goal says we want more emphasis on X, and I'm saying we want more emphasis on Y, you know, there's a disconnect there. So it kind of has to start at the top and go down. Is the logic for me. And if you look at our procedural piece of the goal setting, I think by July 1, I'm supposed to bring my goal pieces. But I'm interpreting those as a little bit different than maybe the student achievement goals that I'm evaluating. That was the particular section in that tool that we looked at, was student achievement. That's the spot where I would say, okay, increase math scores, grades 3 through 11 by 5% as measured on state assessment. So those are the student achievement goals, but a goal for me might, you know, not exactly mirror that.
Typically in the past, the board goals sort of end up being the superintendent's goals. Not, sometimes not completely, but
Is it
they
there?
seem to be very aligned.
Aligned for sure.
There could be some variations a little bit. I mean, there could be some specific boards that goals that the board wants to try to accomplish as a board, but typically if the board has a goal that impacts kids, then that should be carried out through Lisa, I would say. And Steve, you were saying something about Lisa's goals or something like that in an executive session. What, you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, when you're talking about the performance of the superintendent, that is an executive session item.
Well,
And so, you know,
but I think it's two different things to set her performance goals and then actually evaluate them, right?
it may
What do you think?
or it may not be.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that in that case, we would probably start off in open session. If it leads to the point where we're actually doing some evaluating, then we would have to move to executive session. to do that.
Well, and that's why I think Lisa needs to talk to Patty. And, you know, I rely on Patty's 20 years of experience to
Yeah.
shed some light on
I'm
that.
sure. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, as far as setting her goals, I think we could probably do that in a public workshop type setting, but.
Well, here's what I know. Our procedure piece for the superintendent's evaluation says that we will set the goals in executive session. That's what the procedure piece says. Now, is, you know, all that, the RCW for all that's all changed. And that's why I think we need a reference to somebody like Patty.
I did, oh, go ahead.
How do we do this?
Well, I talked to our attorney about that already, and she said, unless you were going in to talk about performance, that the goals are really a public setting type of a conversation. The way we did it last year is the board set its goals, I set mine, brought them to the board to be approved, and off we went.
Yeah, our procedure may be in need of some update.
I'd like to know Patty's perspective.
Okay, so what is the specific question I'm asking?
Well, I'd like to know is, are there circumstances in the development of superintendent's goals where executive session is utilized? And should we be planning for that? Because what I don't want to do is get to the meeting and then find out there's something we really shouldn't be talking about in open session. Now we can't get there because we don't have an agenda for it. Can't change the agenda
Right.
on a special
Well,
meeting.
my understanding that it's a board workshop to set board goals.
Right.
So, is it not, or, I mean,
It is.
because we,
I
board
can't-
goals should come before mine.
Yeah, I can't foresee doing any superintendent evaluating at that meeting, but you guys have done it before, I have.
Well, it's not evaluating, it's setting the goals of the future, but, and, maybe I went off the rail here, and kind of lost focus of what it was we were going to be doing.
Yeah, I just don't remember an exception for that purpose in our CW.
It's pretty specific what it tells you you can do.
Yeah.
Okay, so far, June 27th.
That's the big,
We're going to do the advisory.
That's a workshop with Patty Wood, board goals.
right.
Do we have a time, or are you gonna work that out?
Nope, I will leave it on tonight.
And then we'll see about working in the advisory board. Either before or after.
Now, when you say before or after, you mean on the same day?
Same day. Yeah, so Patty wants to show up at noon, for example, the new one week before. She wants to show up at 9, and then
Yeah, exactly.
Well, last year we met from, did she come at 9 or 10, Marilyn? In the snow. So, I mean, it took all day last year just for the board goals part. So just kind
but
of
we were brand new then.
planning
Now we're here.
for a year old. Is this the party? Okay, so probably that would require one posting, 2 topics. Or 3, depending on what it says about the school part.
Well, if it's board goals, disregarding the comments. It sounds like it's board goals, and then
Well, that was my understanding.
an agenda item for the advisory goal.
Yep.
Anything else?
I got a question about that top sentence up there. I'm trying to do the math here. I don't know understand how we're able to take 2 teachers down to 1.5 and still get the same out of it without putting a burden somewhere.
We'll leave that to Karen, but I'll give you the nutshell answer if you want more detail. But it involves moving one of the teachers, we call their prep, which is their planning time. So the planning time was moved to a different time of day, and the calendaring activity was moved earlier. So some things fell back to back, which carved out enough time to accomplish it.
Because the College Board teacher has actually had 2 preps plus. So now she can pick up, the College Board teacher will be maximized to the fullest extent next year, whereas we've had extra time because we haven't had that need because of the preps that the students have, the music/PE. And so now we will only have the 1 prep, and then the TCLP teacher will be maximized to the fullest as well. So we are able to get by next year with just the 1.5, and that's just every second time that they both will be used. But it's because of the preps and the double preps that the College Board teacher has had, double plus.
And then also, as Lisa said earlier, it's 4 hours out of 7, not exactly 5.
You understand the math, Chuck?
No.
I was gonna say I did, I'm just gonna leave it alone.
But I trust Karen. I trust that she's got it worked out.
Okay.
Anything else? Seems like you're forgetting something.
Because, I don't know what.
Yeah.
That's my last slide, like that. Fourth grade, third grade, we did those.
Yeah, you sent us an update regarding the reader board.
Should have.
Yeah.
I said a lot of stuff, I
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
you did.
It's at the shop and it should be here, I think, it's Friday the when's the 27th? Why is that dating right there?
Friday.
27th. You noticed it's missing?
Yes. Yeah, I looked up there
Oh,
one
there's
day
a
and I
picture
see
of
the
a
school
bus.
bus.
I thought for sure I'd get a few calls, someone sold the reader board, but not one.
Any updates, Steve, on groundwork?
Lisa submitted the paperwork for a general permit to abandon the old Pavla approach. And they responded back with a permit for signature, and Lisa had sent it to me to look at it. They've changed the traffic plan, Lisa, the assignment plan.
I haven't looked at it
Yeah,
yet.
which makes it a lot more complicated than what it really needs to be. And what bothers me about them doing that is, I work through TOR and Charlie, the superintendent and supervisor here in the local maintenance. They're the ones that are gonna be reviewing it. They were the ones that gave me the plan. I explained them the work, how it's gonna be done, and they gave me the plan, which consisted simply of a single sign, because we're not even gonna be on the shoulder of the road. Well, this guy in Vancouver is thinking, even if we're 5 feet off the shoulder, we're close enough, and we should have all these cones and a couple other signs. And I tried to call him back today, but I wasn't able to get a hold of him. But here's my rub with him doing that. What we're doing there is an improvement for them. They want less access to their highways. And in addition to us removing the hardened surface, Charlie asks that we take the culvert out. There's a culvert there, 12-inch culvert for the length of that. There's a road ditch on either side of it. And I just told Charlie that we would do that. And, so there's a little give and take, and tomorrow, I think I'll be calling Jeff Bars and stuff and having a conversation with him.
Since he was down in Vancouver.
Yeah, he's the one that's issuing the permit. And,
Does he work for Gene Dobson?
no, he
Are you
doesn't.
sure?
No.
Gene's in charge of
No,
those.
it's possible, it's not gonna matter. I think I can, get it rectified. I mean, if they make us hold our feet to the fire, but I really can't believe, I also intend to talk to Tor tomorrow and see if Tor and Charlie can't maybe advocate for us. So, anyway, so that's that, and then the other issue is I think we talked about the light pole in front of the sign, and that pole belongs to the school. We're paying the bill for that.
Even though the light didn't work.
Yeah, although, what Larry shared was that it didn't work when the sign message board was working, but then when we shut it down, or it stopped functioning and turned the lights off, the lights started working. And he thinks the sensor on that luminaire is being affected by the message board thing. And maintenance would like to see it removed. They want to get rid of that overhead line. It can be a problem for them when they bring in equipment. They absolutely do not want that pole moved to the other side of the road, onto their property. They do not want that. So Jason Dunsmore with the PUD has indicated that if we want it removed, that's a no-cost issue. They would simply come and take it out. But the facilities committee had a concern about liability for some type of requirement for illuminating that intersection. And I sent an email regarding that, and that was the day after that. What was it, May 4th? We had the facilities
Yeah.
meeting, so it was May 5th, and I haven't heard back. But they're Charlie and the other folks I've talked to are saying there are no requirements to illuminate that, and even the PUD are. But Lisa wants something in writing from the DOT, so that's kind of where all that's at. There's some loose ends there. So.
Anything else under this item? Okay, our one item left is the executive session regarding the superintendent evaluation. And are we going to meet without Lisa first and then bring Lisa in? Or do we want to do it as one meeting? Okay, we'll take a short break, and then let's meet in executive session for approximately half hour. And if anyone wants to stick around, we can come out. If we need to go over that, then we'll come out and announce it. All right. We're adjourned to executive session after a short break.
There's so many gates now. You'd have to have a key for every landowner. So I went to look at a job over on the Bishop line and stuff over there, just past the county lines. Get into the job. The road I was supposed to do. We're having to get some
They don't have
different brand.
Well, let's go on, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, they're really
It's been very good.
I imagine that's going to be a big concern.
The bike sign. So normal, you're bound, you're going to.
They ask for them back. They have different fines. I've never had it. It says right in the paperwork that you sign, that they could ask for that back. Yeah, there's, I mean, I went through one stretch where I probably went 4 days. Really? You gotta get out of the market for full service, walk in.
Summer festival. Winter festival.
It just takes so long. To cover the ground.
she said, well, I checked with the training to see if it's basic. Do you support my sense, you know?
Yeah, whatever, it doesn't have.
And I don't know, because she said that they've never had advisory time to. And
It's not the purpose of advisory vote, I don't think. And then you get into this difficult thing, like if you bond, where they have to go around like selling it, you know, like what really that John had to do for the last time we were in the bonds. And so would she be out there then advocating for it and then trying to educate the whole community on the program? Because
Why should someone else be better know that it's what my kids do because they know if there's no money attached to it?
what's in this, I don't understand. What is it like? Do you know what it is?
this thing I remember her. So Karen, just the last time that we're still going to be some costs next year.
Yes.
So what's the thinking on that? I'm just trying to understand.
This is K 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and even with that really small, what is it?
They need their minutes, and I think because of the implications, now I know that, you know, there's been this talk about materials. The bottom line is, we have to use materials. We cannot measure materials and say, here, use these to teach math, or use these. We have the carriers that were, there's a big part of the development of the social studies and culture.
Did they already turn it on?
We want to utilize the characters that they gave us from Beacon Hill, and the departments, I just turned 1, 2, 3, and use that as a basis for what they're teaching, but then all the instruction is feeding them. And that's just the math, because we can't change, we can't take away, we know by, you know, that Beacon Hill remains the years, and maybe it's lost time to the kids, we switch to social studies and math programs, it's using their programs, but we're teaching them correct math. Okay, I think it's good.
Okay, you ready? At this time, we will reconvene the regular meeting. No decisions were made as a result of the executive session. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that the board adjourn. Second.
Then moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Who seconded it? Who did it now?
I made the motion,
Who seconded?
I second.
Josh seconded that, baby. Almost down.